I've always known I wasn't the favorite child, but I never expected it to cost me my life. My name's Rob. I'm 32, single, and until last year, I was just a regular guy working in IT, paying off student loans, living in a modest apartment, and enjoying life in small, manageable ways. My younger sister Tara? She's 29, a lifestyle influencer with an Instagram following she bought, an ego that could smother a city block, and parents who treat her like she's the second coming of Cleopatra. Let me set the scene. Growing up, Tara could do no wrong. She wrecked my dad's car at 17. He bought her a new one. I got a B in calculus once, and my mom grounded me for a week to teach me responsibility. She got a college degree in luxury brand marketing and flunked out of her first job within 6 months. I worked 2 jobs during college to avoid crippling debt. Guess who still lives at home and has a home office in her old bedroom? Yep, Princess Tara. Last spring, she got engaged to a guy named Brett. Think, gelled hair, loud laugh, says, bro, unironically. My first impression? If a lifted Dodge Ram was a person, it'd be Brett. But he had money, or at least his dad did, and my parents practically started planning the wedding the day he proposed. They were giddy. Like, vision boards and Pinterest spreadsheets giddy. And the budget? $80,000. They didn't even blink. My parents have always lived a little above their means, but I figured they'd dip into savings, take out a small loan, whatever. I didn't care. It was their money, their circus, their clown. I showed up for the engagement party, smiled for photos, and kept my opinions to myself. I even gave Tara and Brett a $500 gift, which I had to split into 2 payments to afford. But life has a funny way of showing you where you really stand. About 2 months before the wedding, I collapsed at work. One second, I was explaining a network configuration to a client. The next, I was on the floor with my coworkers yelling my name. I woke up in the hospital, dazed, heart racing, and terrified. They ran tests, kept me overnight, brought in a specialist. That's when they told me I had a congenital heart defect that had gone undiagnosed for years. The valve that regulated blood flow between 2 of my heart chambers was deformed, and under stress, it was causing arrhythmias that could lead to sudden cardiac arrest. The cardiologist was blunt. You need surgery. Sooner rather than later. I nodded slowly. I didn't cry. I don't think I could. I remember staring at the beige tiles on the hospital ceiling, thinking about my rent, my job, my cats, and then my parents. I didn't have $130,000 lying around, and my insurance would only cover a portion. So I called them. I waited until Tara wasn't around. I figured I'd be smart, catch them at home when I knew Brett wasn't there, when their wallets weren't open and bleeding money on flower arrangements and drone videographers. My mom picked up. I'll never forget the tone in her voice, cheerful, upbeat, like nothing was wrong. Oh, honey, you okay? You sounded weird in your message. I explained everything. The tests, the diagnosis, the surgery, my insurance, the estimate, and finally, the question I never imagined I'd have to ask. Would you be able to help me with the part insurance won't cover? I heard the silence before the answer, a kind of pause that sliced right through me. Then she sighed. Rob, we can't right now. The wedding is, well, it's almost here. And everything's already committed. Deposits, vendors, non-refundable stuff. You know how it is. I didn't know how it was. I didn't know what it was like to blow 80 grand on a party when your son might literally die. I choked back my emotions and asked about a loan. Not a gift. Just a loan. Something small. Anything to ease the weight. She passed the phone to Dad. He didn't say much. Just that the timing sucks, and maybe I should talk to the bank. I hung up shaking. Not from anger, yet, but from disbelief. I was their son. Their only son. I wasn't some distant cousin or mooching in-law. I'd never asked them for anything since I was 18. But now, when it really counted, nothing. I spent the next 2 weeks applying for medical loans. I maxed out a credit card just to cover the surgery deposit. I had to start the process immediately, or the risk of cardiac arrest would grow with each passing week. I started losing sleep, losing weight. The stress was eating me alive. Tara called once. She didn't ask about my surgery. She just wanted to know if I could make it in time for the rehearsal dinner, because Brett's cousin had canceled and they needed someone to help with seating logistics. I didn't answer. The day of the surgery came. I went in alone. Woke up alone. Stayed in recovery for 3 days with only my friend Miguel dropping by with snacks and bad jokes. My parents? They were in Cabo, celebrating my sister's honeymoon week. I saw it on Instagram. Them on the beach, frozen cocktails in hand, with captions like #FamilyFirst and "So bless two hearts bride with veil man in tuxedo." And that's when something in me broke. I looked at that photo, stitched and wired up, heart literally aching, and I knew something deep in my bones. They didn't see me as family. Not really. I was a distant obligation, background noise, convenient only when I was quiet and out of the way. So I made a decision. From that moment forward, I lived like they didn't exist. But fate, apparently, wasn't done with me yet. Because 8 months later, they showed up on my doorstep, disheveled, baggage in hand, saying they had nowhere else to go. It was a Wednesday evening, and I had just gotten home from work. I'd recently been promoted to a senior network administrator role, and the extra hours were brutal, but the pay bump made the crushing debt from my heart surgery feel a little less suffocating. I'd made it. I was alive. I was managing. And then there was a knock. Not a soft knock. A frantic, sustained pounding like someone was trying to break in. I opened the door, and there they were. My mom, my dad, 2 suitcases between them, and a look on their faces I hadn't seen since I was a kid. Desperation. Embarrassment. Fear. "We didn't know where else to go," my mom said, her voice cracking. For a full 10 seconds, I said nothing. Not out of cruelty, I was just stunned. I hadn't seen them in person since before the wedding. They never visited me after the surgery. They didn't even send a card. They liked Tara's Instagram post about it, which I guess was their version of support. "What happened?" I asked. My dad cleared his throat. "We've had some financial setbacks." "No shit." They went on to explain, in vague, painful detail, how they had co-signed a loan for Tara and Brett's honeymoon property investment in Palm Springs. A luxury Airbnb Brett swore would pay for itself. Except it didn't. Apparently, Brett hadn't made a single payment in 6 months. Then the economy dipped, interest rates shot up, and the whole thing collapsed. The bank came for everything. They lost the house. Retirement? Gone. Savings? Wiped. And Brett? "He's working on fixing it," my dad muttered. "Fixing it. Right." My mom sniffled. "Rob, we're staying in a motel right now. It's costing a fortune just for basic things. We don't even have a kitchen. It's awful." I folded my arms. "So why not move in with Tara? She's under a lot of stress. The baby's been fussy, and Brett's been traveling. They don't have room." I laughed. I couldn't help it. Not because it was funny, but because the audacity was just that absurd. "They don't have room?" I echoed. "She's living in a 5-bedroom house in the suburbs." My mom waved her hand like that wasn't the point. "She's dealing with so much right now, we didn't want to burden her." I raised an eyebrow. "But I'm not dealing with anything? Like crippling medical debt, 2 jobs, and recovering from major surgery?" That's when she did it, the thing that sent me from shock to furious. She tilted her head, softened her voice, and said, "You're so strong, Rob. We always knew you could handle things on your own. You always have. Tara's just more delicate." I swear to God, I almost closed the door right there. Instead, I stepped outside and pulled the door shut behind me. "You want to stay here?" I said, crossing my arms. They nodded. My dad looked down. My mom blinked like she was already crying. "Then you're going to hear something first. You left me to die." Her mouth dropped open. What? That's not fair. Wait. Stop." I cut her off. "You had the money. You chose to spend it on a flower wall and a drone videographer instead of helping your son not die. You told me to take out loans. And you didn't even visit." My dad tried to speak, but I kept going. "Then you posted vacation pics while I was in a hospital bed. #blessed. #family first. What exactly does that mean to you?" They both went quiet. My mom's mascara was running now. "Good. I survived. I got through it. And you weren't there. So tell me, why should I be here for you now?" I expected excuses. Pleading. Maybe a tantrum. Instead, my dad looked me in the eye and said, "Because we're your parents." "Oh. Okay. That card." "Cool," I said. "Then where the hell were my parents when I was strapped to a heart monitor?" There was a long silence. Then my mom sobbed into her hands. My dad just looked tired. Like all the fake confidence and golden child illusions had finally cracked. I didn't have it in me to watch them break down on my doorstep, but I wasn't ready to forgive, either. So I offered them something I thought was fair. "There's a guest room," I said. 1. No storage. No visitors. You pay utilities, and you clean up after yourselves. No exceptions. My mom looked up, hopeful. Of course, honey. Anything. I held up a hand. One more thing. You will never mention Tara to me while you're here. Not her, not Brett, not the baby, not the dog. I don't want to hear a single syllable. Got it. They nodded. I let them in. And for a brief moment, I thought maybe, this was the start of something healing. I was wrong. Because a week later, I came home to find my mom cooking dinner for Tara and Brett. In my house. Let me remind you of the one rule I made when my parents moved in. No Tara. No stories. No FaceTime calls. No funny things the baby did. And absolutely no visits. So you can imagine my reaction when I came home from a 12-hour day at work, still in a stiff collared shirt, and smelled lemon chicken wafting through the hallway, my mom's signature company's coming dish. I dropped my keys in the bowl, stepped into the kitchen, and saw Tara and Brett sitting at my dining table. Brett, wearing his usual stupid smug grin, raised a glass. Bro, long time. My mom was fluttering around in a full apron, plating vegetables. Surprise. I thought this might be a nice little family night. Just the four of us, like old times. Old times. Like when they forgot to pick me up from soccer practice because Tara had a hair appointment. I didn't say a word. Just turned to leave. Rob, don't be rude. My mom scolded. Tara came all this way with the baby. I stopped cold. The baby's here. She's napping in the guest room, Tara chimed in. Don't worry, I brought the monitor. That was it. My grip on reality snapped. You brought your kid, I said slowly, into my house. After I said not to even mention her name. Tara blinked. Well, excuse me for wanting to reconnect. You've been kind of dramatic lately, Rob. Dramatic? Dramatic? I turned to my mom. You invited them here? I thought if you saw them, you'd remember how much you all love each other. I cut her off. No. What I remember is needing life-saving surgery and getting told to figure it out myself because all of you were too busy picking out centerpieces. My voice was loud now, trembling. Brett leaned back, sipping his wine. Look, man, I get it. You went through some stuff. But holding on to it? Not healthy. Don't talk to me like we're equals, Brett. You ran a scam investment and dragged my parents into it. He smirked. Not my fault they didn't do due diligence. My dad finally appeared in the doorway, holding the baby monitor, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Rob, he said gently, let's not make this worse. Worse? I turned to Tara. You couldn't even text me when I was in the hospital. But now you show up with wine and baby pictures and think we're going to play Modern Family. She rolled her eyes. God, you're still mad about that? It's been months. Grow up. I grabbed my phone and said, calmly, you have 3 minutes to get your child and get out, or I'm calling the cops. That wiped the smirk off Brett's face. You wouldn't, he said. Watch me. My mom gasped. Rob, this is your family. No, I said. This is a group of people who used me, then discarded me. You're guests in my home. And you just violated the one rule I set. Tara stood up fast. Fine. You want to be alone? You will be. She stormed toward the guest room. Brett followed, muttering something under his breath. When the door slammed, I turned to my parents. You're on probation now. You want to keep staying here? You follow my rules. Or you both leave. I don't care where. They were quiet. For once. And for the next week, things got tense. My mom started giving me the silent treatment. My dad just avoided me completely. But I didn't care. I'd made myself clear. Or so I thought. Because a few days later, I got a text from Brett. It was a selfie, him, grinning in his stupid aviators, standing in front of my workplace. Hey bro, just dropped by to talk. They said you were out for lunch. Hit me up. Let's bury the hatchet. I stared at the screen in disbelief. Then I opened the next message. A screenshot of a Venmo request. From Brett. $2,500. Caption. For letting us crash at your place, winking face. I didn't respond. Instead, I printed it out. Because something was happening. Something ugly beneath the surface. And I needed evidence. Documentation. Receipts. And not just for my own sanity. Because that weekend, I came home to find a folded sheet of paper on the kitchen counter. Typed. Neatly formatted. A lease agreement. Drafted by Tara, co-signed by my parents. It stated that I would transfer ownership of the house to family trust purposes for security, stability, and legacy. Guess who the trustee was? Brett. And guess who was listed as non-essential occupant? Me. I stared at the lease agreement like it was a bomb that had been casually left ticking on my kitchen counter. It was 2 pages long, full of legal-sounding nonsense like transfer of liability and primary residential beneficiary, all dressed up to sound legitimate. But the intent was clear as glass. They wanted my house. My goddamn house, the one I bought with my own money, with the bonus I'd earned after nearly dying and clawing my way back into the workforce with wires still in my chest. The kicker? They thought I'd actually sign it. I carried the paper into the living room where my mom was folding laundry like it was just another Tuesday. I held it up. What is this? She didn't even look up. A proposal. Something to think about. You mean a scam? I snapped. You want me to hand over legal ownership of my home so Brett can manage it like some kind of real estate tycoon? It's not like that, Rob, she said gently. You wouldn't lose the house. You just share it. With family. You're always saying how isolated you feel. That was the moment I realized something deeply disturbing. They didn't just think this was okay. They thought they were saving me. She went on. If you agree, we can help you with your medical debt. Brett has contacts, financial advisors. We can pool resources. You mean control my property, kick me out when it's convenient, and spin it like you're doing me a favor? She finally looked at me. Rob, you're single. You don't have kids. You don't need all this space. And Tara does? With her full-time influencer lifestyle and husband who dodges every bill that has his name on it. She stood up. You're angry. That's understandable. But please don't let it cloud your judgment. This is a solution. You're drowning in stress. Let us take care of it. They had the nerve to act like I was the problem, like I was being unreasonable. I didn't say anything else. I just walked into my room, closed the door, and pulled out the folder I'd been keeping for months. Because here's the thing they didn't know. I was never just moving on. I was preparing. Back when I was recovering, I'd started keeping records. Screenshots. Statements. Texts. Every communication with Brett, with Tara, even my parents. Their lack of support. The Venmo requests. The passive-aggressive texts, the mortgage statement in my name alone, all of it. And I had one more secret they didn't know. The house? I bought it cash. No mortgage. No cosigner. No joint anything. Every light switch, every floor tile, every damn patch of grass out front belonged to me. And they had no idea, because I never told them. That Friday, I took the day off work. I went to the county clerk's office and pulled the title deed, again, just to be sure. My name, solo, crystal clear. Then I drove straight to a lawyer's office, one that specialized in property disputes and civil eviction. By Monday morning, the papers were filed. That evening, I came home early. My parents were sitting in the living room. I handed them both copies of the documents. What's this? My dad asked. I sat down across from them. Calm. Ice cold. This is a notice of termination. Effective immediately, you are no longer welcome on this property. You have 72 hours to vacate. I've already filed it with the court. My mom's face crumpled like wet tissue paper. You're evicting us? Correct. Her voice rose, hysterical. After everything we've done for you. We raised you. I didn't blink. And then you left me to die. My dad stood up, fist clenched. You ungrateful little SH. Sit down, I said. Unless you want the cops here tonight. He froze. We stared at each other. For the first time in my life, he blinked first. My mom started crying loud, what sobs like something out of a bad soap opera. You're doing this because you hate your sister. No, I said. I'm doing this because you forgot I exist unless I'm useful. Because you tried to steal from me. And because you crossed a line. They didn't argue after that. They just sulked. For the next 2 days, they moved in slow motion, whispering in corners, texting God knows who. I didn't care. I kept every receipt, recorded every word, didn't so much as leave a dish in the sink that they could use as leverage. And then, right before their final day, Brett came back. He didn't knock this time. Just strutted in like he owned the place, wearing designer sunglasses indoors and a stupid muscle tee that said boss mode. Look, man, he said, sitting at my kitchen island. I get it. You're stressed. But this eviction thing? Bad move. Real bad. I said nothing. Just sipped my coffee. We were trying to help you, he went on. We could have flipped this place in 6 months for double its value. You wouldn't even have to move. Let me guess, I said. After you manage the deal, I get a generous 5% cut? He smirked. See? You're not stupid. I stood up. You've got 60 seconds to leave before I call the cops. He laughed. Call him. You think they're going to do anything to me? I walked to the front door, picked up the phone, dialed. This is Rob Carson. I'm calling to report a trespasser at my residence. The color drained from Brett's face as I said the address. He stood up, knocking over the stool. You're gonna regret this, bro. No, I said, meeting his eyes. You will. He left. I locked the door. And then I opened the group chat I'd created days ago. With the rest of the family. Screenshots. Recordings. Financial statements. The lease scam. Tara's Venmo history. Everything. Then I typed. Since you all love gossip so much, here's the full story. Enjoy. The group chat exploded within minutes. Most of my extended family had no idea what had been going on. They'd only seen Tara's carefully curated Instagram life, the perfect house, the perfect husband, the glowing baby pics, and of course, the narrative that I was the bitter, estranged brother who abandoned his family. But now, they had screenshots of the lease agreement Brett tried to push on me. They had my parents' texts, one in particular where my mom actually typed, "Once Rob signs it, he won't be able to back out. He's too soft to fight us." They had the Venmo receipts, the timeline of my surgery versus the wedding, even a photo of Tara at the beach while I was in post-op recovery. I didn't add commentary. Just dropped the files and let the evidence speak. By the next morning, my phone had 47 missed calls, 3 voicemails from crying aunts, and 1 very pointed text from my grandmother. I'm ashamed of your parents. You deserved better. Come to Sunday dinner. I didn't respond to anyone, but word spread fast. Tara's social media went dark. She deleted 3 years' worth of posts overnight. Brett, always the alpha online, suddenly stopped tagging her in anything. A few days later, mutual friends started whispering that Brett had moved out temporarily, claiming trust issues. Gee, wonder why. As for my parents, they slinked away like ghosts. Moved into some rental on the edge of town, far enough to avoid running into anyone from their old neighborhood. But they weren't done yet. Because about a week after their eviction, my mom showed up again. Alone. No bags, no paperwork. Just standing on my porch, eyes hollow, hands shaking, like she was holding in something too big to swallow. I didn't open the door. Just spoke through the screen. What do you want? She hesitated. Then she said the words I never thought I'd hear from her. I'm sorry. Not a performance. Not a guilt trip. A whisper. Real. We didn't think you'd actually go through with it. We thought you needed us. I did, I said. Back when it mattered. She looked down. We made mistakes. I didn't reply. She swallowed. Tara's not speaking to us. Brett is furious. Everyone's turned on us. You turned them on yourselves. I know. The silence between us stretched. I just wanted you to know, she said finally, that your father and we were wrong. About you. About everything. I looked her dead in the eyes. You chose a wedding over your son's life. That's not a mistake. That's a decision. She didn't argue. Didn't cry. Just nodded once, turned around, and walked back to her car. I never saw her again. It's been 5 months. I repainted the house. Tore out the guest room furniture. Turned it into a reading lounge. Got a dog. Big goofy mutt named Cisco. He barks whenever someone walks by the driveway. I sleep better knowing that. My health is stable. The surgery was successful. I still carry the scar, right down the middle of my chest, like a zipper someone forgot to close. Some days I catch myself glancing at it in the mirror. Not out of shame, but as a reminder of who I am now. A man who drew a line, who said no, who refused to be used. And it wasn't just about the house, or the surgery, or even Tara. It was about the years of gaslighting, the quiet conditioning, the belief that I should always be smaller, quieter, more convenient. That's done now. Every morning, I wake up, pour coffee, sit on the porch with Cisco, and listen to the quiet. Not because my life is empty, but because, for the first time in my life, it's finally mine.